Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about the costs that are associated with the express entry process. What do you have to pay for and at what stage? So stay tuned. Now, if you're not familiar with how the express entry system works and the stages that you have to follow, please watch this video and it will show you exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it. So in this video I'm just going to be concentrating on the costs, right? So the costs that are associated with express entry will differ. They may differ from place to place. They may differ depending on your particular situation, your particular circumstances. But I'm just going to give a rundown and also just share my own journey so that you get to see, you can use that information to see what applies to your situation. So before you can create an express entry profile, you must have had your educational credentials assessed and you must have taken your English or French language test. Okay, so I'll talk about the educational credential assessment. Now, in the previous video, I talked about the different organizations that assess foreign qualifications for Canadian equivalency. Not all of them will charge the same amounts for assessing your foreign credentials. So I'll talk about WES, that's World Educational Services in Canada. You have to, depending again on your where you got your qualifications from, you may have to either ask your institution to send the documents to Canada, or you have to send the documents by yourself. It will all depend on where you studied and what you studied. But basically, for World Education Services Canada, the charge will be around 227, okay, Canadian dollars. I'm also going to be converting these amounts to US dollars so that they can be applicable to a lot of different audiences in different places. So World Education Services, if you are doing the process, if you want your spouse's, if you are married, for example, like myself, and you want to also have your spouse's credentials assessed, that will be an additional cost. But for World Education Services, educational credential assessment, I did what is called the document by document assessment. So that one cost 227 Canadian dollars, and that was for both of us, for each of us rather, for me and my wife. So in total that was 454 Canadian dollars, which is about like 340 USD, right? So that is just for the assessment. But I studied in Cyprus and in Zimbabwe. So I've got a bachelor's degree from Zimbabwe and then I've got a master's degree from Cyprus. So I had to send both of those qualifications to Western Canada for assessment. So in addition to that 227 Canadian dollars that I had to pay, right, I had to also send my documents from Zimbabwe. Now, when I contacted my university in Zimbabwe, they asked me to pay $21 for generating an additional an additional transcript. So I paid $21 for transcript generation. And then I also had to pay for the courier service because they were going to courier the documents to World Education Services in Toronto. So I paid $45 for that. Now, I had an advantage in that my wife and I studied at the same institution in college. So we sent the documents in one package, right? Separate sealed envelopes, but one package. So that meant 21 US dollars for my wife's transcript, 21 US dollars for my transcript. That's 42 plus 45 to send both of them in one. We used DHL, one DHL package to Canada, and that was accepted. Okay. So for my master's degree from Cyprus, the requirement from WES was that the university send my transcript to WES in Canada, and they charged me, the school charged me 22 euros for the transcript generation, and they offered to send the transcript to Canada for free. But then, because I knew it was going to take a long time, I opted for their premium courier service, which cost €100, and my documents arrived in Canada within 2 days. So €100 plus 22 for the transfer generation, which was €122, and in US dollars that would be about $130. So that was that. Then the next thing that you have to do is your IELTS test, right? Now, if you're going to do a French test, that's going to cost you a bit more. And also IELTS, if you take the test more than once, sometimes you may not get the score that you want, in the first sitting. So you may have to take the test again to get the score that you want. Fortunately, for me and my wife, we wrote our IELTS tests on the same day. Now, we did our IELTS test in the United Arab Emirates, and the cost in US dollars was 300. Yeah. So that was for each of us. So that's $600 total. Okay. Then the next thing is police clearance certificates. Now, you will need to submit police clearance certificates for all the countries in which you have lived for 6 months or more in the last 10 years, or since you turned 18, whichever is earlier. In my case, I had to get police clearance certificates from Zimbabwe and from Cyprus and from the UAE. So that cost us, basically that was $60 each. So that was $120. That was a lot of money. But it's just unfortunate, we're living abroad, and, it adds to the cost of doing these things. And similarly, so we also had to get police clearances for Cyprus. Getting that cost us about $100, to get police clearances done for both of us. Then we also had to get police clearance certificates for UAE. So for the UAE, so that cost about $60. That's 30 each for me and my wife. Okay. Now, you have to submit police clearance certificates for each adult, I think. So for minors, you don't have to submit any police clearance certificates. And then the last thing that you have to do is to pay for your application fee. Now, this is at the time of submitting your PR application. When you receive an invitation to apply for permanent residency, you've got 60 days to submit a complete application. So during those 60 days, you have to get your medicals done, you have to get your police clearance certificates if you don't have them already, and then you submit and all the documents that are required for your application. I'll do another video about the documents that you are required to submit with your PR application. The total cost was 2,400 Canadian dollars. That was because family of 3. Okay, so that breakdown of that 2,400 was 550 for my application, 550 for my wife's application, then 490 each. These are Canadian dollars. 490 each for right of permanent residence. For the right of permanent residence, you may pay this amount later on. You don't have to pay it up front, but you have to pay it before your application can be approved. And the right of permanent residence fee is refundable if your application for PR is not successful. And then you also have to pay biometrics enrollment fee, which is 85 Canadian dollars. So in my case, I had to pay times 2 for me and my wife. So that was 170. For our child, we had to pay $150 for our child. Minors don't have to pay a right of permanent residence fee. Okay, so all in all, that was 2,400 Canadian dollars. Oh, and the other thing is that I used a consultant. I've done a video on whether you should use a consultant or not, and I explained the reasons why I used a consultant. You can do the process by yourself, but just, watch this video, and, you can see for yourself whether you need to use a consultant or not. Okay, so I used a consultant, and that was an extra $1,240. Okay, and so all in all, the total cost that I incurred for my express entry application from the time I started WES to the time I submitted our passports for residence visa stamping, that was about 4,760 United States dollars. Okay, so I hope you liked this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up subscribe, turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on the next video.